Assalamualaikum and hi guys. Today we are going to talk about the study of our group project of subject STA108. Without wasting any time, let's begin. So a little background of this study, we are studying the relationship between the average spending on a trip home and the distance travel among AS120 students in UiTM Jengke. There are four main objectives in this study. The first one is to identify the average cost and distance traveled by students when returning to their hometown. Secondly, to determine the most commonly used mode of transportation among students when traveling back to their hometown. Next, to examine the relationship between travel frequency during a semester and students' opinion on whether public transportation is cheaper than using private transportation. Lastly, to model and assess the linear relationship between the average spending and the distance traveled. The significance of this study is to provide insights for students to budget effectively for their travel home and to help the university or the student council to understand students' financial burden related to travel. There are two types of variable used in this study. The first one is qualitative variables, which include gender, time, frequency, type of transportation, and semester, while the other variable is quantitative variable, which include total spending and distance. The sampling technique used in this study is simple random sampling, and the data collection method used was online survey that was shared throughout WhatsApp and contacts.
First, let's look at the gender for our AS120 student respondent. The pie chart show that the majority of our sample are female, accounting for 59%, while 41% are male. This demographic context is useful for understanding. Typically, students go back to their hometown. Next, we ask our respondent to answer questions that influence their spending habit. Do you agree that using public transportation is cheaper than personal transportation? The results show 59%. Majority of the students agree that public transportation is cheaper. However, 41% disagree. The results show a clear difference for what time of the day typically student AS120 go back to their hometown. For majority is 40%, typically travel at the night. Second is 26% travel in the morning, followed by 22% at the evening, and lastly 12% travel at the noon. The frequency which our AS120 student travel back to their hometown. This bar chart show the number of time they travel at home. The most common frequency is twice with 22 students. Second is traveling as reported by 10 students. Traveling 3 times and 4 times. Both 3 times and 4 times reported by 13 students.
Let's look at the transportation chart. Based on the data, the bus is the most commonly used mode of transportation. With 37 respondents, this show that many students rely on buses because they are affordable, convenient, and easily available, especially for daily commuting. The second most used transportation is car, with 16 respondents. This suggests that some students have access to private vehicles, which may offer more comfort, but still involve higher costs such as fuel and parking. Meanwhile, motorcycle and aeroplane are the least used modes of transportation, with only one respondent each. Motorcycles may be less popular due to safety concerns, while aeroplanes are rarely used because they are expensive and only suitable for long-distance travel. Overall, this chart highlights the importance of public transportation, particularly buses and among students. Next, let's move on to the semester chart. From the chart, we can see that the majority of respondents are from Part 3 with 43 students, which is also my part. This means that most of the data reflects the experiences of mid-program students. Part 1 has 12 respondents, which represents students who are still adjusting to campus life and transportation routines. In contrast, Part 5 has only 3 respondents, showing that fewer final year students participated in this survey. Because most respondents are from Part 3, the results are more influenced by students who already have stable schedules and regular travel patterns, which may affect their transportation choices and spending behavior. Finally, let's look at the scatter plot, which shows the relationship between total spending in Ringgit Malaysia and distance traveled in kilometers. Most of the data points are clustered at lower spending and shorter distance, indicating that many respondents travel nearby and spend less on transportation. However, I would like to focus on the highest point on the graph. This point represents a respondent who traveled approximately 2,800 kilometers and spent around 200 ringgit. This point clearly stands out from the rest. This is most likely due to air travel, which involves longer distance and higher costs. The highest point strongly supports the idea that as travel distance increases, total spending also increases.
Now, let's move on to data analysis. In the study, 2 quantitative variables were used. The first one is total spending. The mean is 64.918, the median is 60, and the mode is 70. The standard deviation of this data is 43.615, and the sample variance is 1902.312. The skewness of this data is negative 0.116, which conclude that this data is negatively skewed or left skewed. For the second variable is distance. The mean is 332.049, the median is 300, and the mode is 425. The standard deviation of this data is 364.147. The sample variance is 132,603.104. The skewness of this data is negative 0.255, which also made this data negatively skewed or left skewed. Based on the study, it showed that the average spending was 64 ringgit and 92 cents, and the average distance traveled was 332.05 km. However, both variables exhibited high variability, especially the distance, with a standard deviation of 364.15 km, suggesting a wide range of student hometown locations. For the analysis of categories, it revealed that the car is the most common mode of transportation used by 37 students, while a majority of 59% disagreed that public transportation is cheaper than using personal transportation. In conclusion, the data provide a strong statistical foundation for the study's ultimate objective, to model the linear relationship between average spending and the distance traveled. The descriptive statistics and charts successfully quantified students' travel behavior and laid the groundwork for further inferential analysis.